Hey everybody, Eric Weiss here with Full Cycle Product Development. Things are a little hectic lately, as I'm sure you're all aware and all feeling. It's an interesting time. Um, I wanted to share with you some experience today and hopefully help you guys out a little bit as much as I can. Unfortunately, I've had clients that are in the space of travel and events and so on that have been hit very hard. And my heart goes out to any of you that have been severely economically impacted or otherwise due to this crisis. And one thing that's come up universally now with everybody that I know and everyone I'm working with is this transition to working remotely, transitioning to remote teams. And so I thought I'd take the opportunity to share with you some of my experience and best practices and so on around transitioning to remote work while maintaining high levels of productivity, but also morale and team cohesion. Okay. So the first thing I'll say is this is a crisis, and people are scared. They're nervous. They're thrown out of their routine. My kids' school's closed, so figuring out childcare and even homeschooling, on top of all of my work responsibilities. So, the first thing you need to do is first just understand that this is going to impact all of us. And the second thing is that caring for each other is actually the most important thing we can do. So taking our minds away from achieving peak productivity for a moment and really just making sure that our team is okay, that they're calm, that they feel safe and supported, and that they feel that that there's a positive future ahead of them, because nobody knows what this is going to bring, and that anxiety and that stress is going to impact people in a lot of different ways. People are going to make poor decisions. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to get frustrated. Tempers are going to get high. There's going to be conflict, and so the more that we can focus on the people and the individuals and make them feel safe and cared for, and also that there's leadership and direction, the better everyone will be in the end. And in fact, I will say that the companies that have strong, compassionate leadership during this time are going to be the ones that come out the other side stronger and more successful, with a more loyal and dedicated team, that we've actually weathered a storm together. And so thinking about that, this is an opportunity to create a level of team cohesion and commitment that we've never had before. I think our mentality around work has been so focused on developing and delivering the product, and it's always at the expense of the workers, of the people that are building the thing. And so let's take this opportunity to let our people know and let our teammates know that we care about them and that we're here for each other. So what does that look like? The first thing is to be flexible with people with whatever their needs are. If they have children to take care of, if they have elderly parents or sick or disabled relatives to take care of, that just comes first. So whatever needs to be done to support that, we need to be able to work around those things. Talking to people one-on-one and really trying to connect with them one-on-one and making sure that we let them know that, we care about them personally, right? So talking with folks is, just how are you holding up? What are some of the things that you're afraid of? What are some of the things that worry you? What worries you in terms of health and public safety, but also what worries you about economics, about, your financial future, the ability to support your family. A lot of folks, maybe are don't have a ton of liquid savings, for example. And so they're worried about, what happens if payroll dries up, or what happens if I miss a paycheck, those sorts of things. So, really connect with and listen to your team, and just connect with them person to person, and just show empathy, show them that you care. Okay. Another thing is around, the team support for one another. So think about ways that you can understand the problems that individuals are facing and then rally the team around that person. So one of the things that I've seen right away is like a toilet paper share, right? So teams are saying how much, who needs toilet paper, who's got toilet paper, and they're able to meet very briefly, drop a bag on the ground and step back 6 paces in order to share necessities. And that can be everything. It's not just toilet paper. There's a lot of things that people don't have right now, basic necessities that are needed. I mean, this goes back to community, right? Like, can I borrow a cup of sugar? Can I borrow some eggs? And this is back to basics, things that we've really taken for granted and now actually matter. I actually delivered a big bag of toilet paper to my daycare this morning because, they were running out and they use a lot more than I do. So, think about ways that you can understand what people are struggling with and then rally the team around those challenges and make it be an open forum where anyone can feel free to say, hey, I need this, or hey, I'm struggling with this. Can someone help me out? And certainly reward and recognize, that kind of behavior. So, moving towards the work side of things, a lot of so here's where work tends to break down. A lot of people are comfortable with meetings, remote meetings, right? We all use Zoom and whatnot, and we use some sort of collaboration tool, and we do Slack or whatnot. And so, we're very comfortable, usually pretty comfortable around taking the meetings offline or online, I guess you should say, but taking meetings out of the room. And so, you're looking at like digital whiteboarding solutions, and document collaboration and so on and so forth. And these are all really important. But the piece that really falls apart when you transition to remote team under any circumstances is the informal communication and collaboration that comes when people are co-located, when they're working together, right? So when you're in the office or when you're in a co-located setting, there are just these brief communications that just come up. It could be collaboration around a task, pair programming or war rooming or mobbing or whatever, that sort of fall away when people, transition to a remote team. So first thing I want to suggest is just that you strongly encourage that people have that informal communication. And there's a few ways of doing it. One is if you're not on Slack or something equivalent, you have to get on a real time, collaboration platform where people can chat and just talk informally. If you are using Slack, one thing I suggest is to create new channels targeted at specific topics. So this could be tied to a story or an epic or a feature or just a problem that comes up, like, oh, there's an outage or something, and creating these maybe not ephemeral or short-lived, but these sort of contextual channels where anyone can dive in, any sort of subject matter expert, and ask a question or talk about a thing. And so you're not, slamming the one general channel with everything that's going on, right? So that's the first thing that I see happening is that everybody talks in general or kind of a few typical channels, and now we're overloading those channels with all the communication that the team typically does in the real world. And so we need to first sort of break up these channels into themes and topics and allow people to collaborate on that. Also supporting that sort of asynchronous mode, right? So by having that chat history and even letting people know, like, hey, like these are some themes or some channels that are important to you. Like when you do go in and check Slack, make sure that you check on those channels and actually go back and read the context, right? Because that's all this context awareness that needs to happen. So again, encouraging people to think about the way they use something like Slack a little bit differently, and understand that, hey, there's other things now that you need to pay attention to that maybe you're not used to. Okay. So that's just sort of Slack. Now on the video conferencing, video call side of things, one of the things that I just encourage is that, if you're in Slack or whatever tool, that hit that call button, right? Just be the collaboration, the ability to transfer information through voice or video is just so much faster than text. While you do lose some of that audit trail for people who aren't in the room, if you find yourself chatting with somebody about the problem, just hit that button and jump on a call right away, right? Just facilitate that communication, okay? And again, encouraging people, if you're a manager, right, encouraging people to start doing that. Have more calls, impromptu calls than you. It doesn't have to be a scheduled meeting, right? Just we're chatting about something, I'm dealing with something, I want to pick your brain about something. Just hop on a call real quick. You don't have to do your hair. You can see I haven't gotten a haircut in a little while because I don't want to go out to the barber, but it's fine. That and another interesting thing is having these like long living chat rooms, video chats that I saw one company do that was pretty interesting. So, you're jumping on a team Zoom call or Slack call without any particular purpose and just leave it open. I do recommend, kind of turning off video if necessary because it just sort of eats up bandwidth. But just having that channel open and everyone can be on mute. But the idea is that I can always I'm doing my work and I can just hit that mute button and just say, hey, does anyone have a minute? Or, hey, has anyone seen this? Or, just being able to sort of tap one button and be able to talk to your whole team in real time and then have other folks there that can all then jump on and start dealing with things and facilitates that communication is a really great analog for people being there live in the real world. So that's something to think about. And that could be, a conference call on your phone. It could be, an audio chat, but just something that's sort of persistent in the background. That's just like, hey, we're all in the same virtual room together and anybody can just really quickly, just unmute and ask a question. And if anybody's there and they're not in the other room or whatever it is, or if they're not available, if they're there, they can hop on and help. So these are kind of some ways of facilitating, that real-time collaboration that tends to happen in the workplace, but not so much, when you're working remotely. Okay. The collaboration around problems and tools, definitely has, there's definitely some challenges there. And so the thing to just keep in mind in general is that we take for granted how much information is shared in the real world that we're not using these tools for. So when I go into a team that is fully remote, the way they use collaboration tools is totally different than teams where they're mostly co-located. And in fact, one of the challenges I deal with a lot in my consulting is when there are remote teams that are supposed to collaborate or whether they've got a local team and they're trying to bring on some remote people and squeeze them in. There's some fundamentally different ways that we use these tools that we have to think about. Some obviously the ones that I've mentioned to you before. The other thing being around this synchronous versus asynchronous nature. So remote teams actually tend to have many fewer meetings than teams that are co-located. And the problem with that, or the reason why essentially is, getting everyone, if the mode of communication that's most common is getting everyone in the same room, well, then you have to coordinate everybody being in the same room at the same time. And that creates a logistical challenge, and the meetings are the ways that we rectify that. But having these threads and having all these notifications set up and basically investing in the tools and learning the tools and collaborating on the tools creates this more of an asynchronous nature where it's like, hey, I'm blocked on this thing and I have this question, and you just naturally go off and start working on something else or whatever it might be. And then whenever, and people are always kind of polling and looking through these different channels, and when they kind of can jump on and clear a blocker, that person gets notified and then they're able to go in and continue on. So there's a little more context switching, but it's sort of smoother and more rapid context switching because there's much less overhead in actually, kind of doing the switch. It's easy to just flip from one tab to another, one channel or thought to another. Okay. So I'll kind of leave it there. I don't want this video to get too long, but, again, just to kind of wrap it up, productivity is important. You want the team collaboration and cohesion to be important. There is actually one more thing that I did want to bring up is that, the water cooler talk, the chit chat that happens throughout the day is really important. Not only is it just a great way to kind of share information about what's going on, but it's also a great way to build relationships and team cohesion and so on. And when all of the communication that happens, when all that's stripped away and all the communication that's happening is sort of task focused or focused on the meeting that we're talking about or the task we're talking about, we start to lose a whole lot of context. And so about what other people are working on, in addition to, again, that relationship building. And as I said, especially in a time of crisis, when tensions are running high and frustrations are running high, and when you are also introducing miscommunication and mistakes and so on that come with this, people have to have great relationships with one another. They have to have empathy for one another, and they have to really feel like they're a part of the team, right? We don't want to be at each other's throats when things get tough. And so the thing I suggest is carve out some time for idle chit chat, right? So if you have a meeting that's an hour long, take 15 minutes and just go around the table and just talk like people. What's going on in your world? Like, hey, how are you transitioning? Whatever. I'm sure we're probably watching a lot of TV and playing a lot of video games. So like, did you watch that show last night? Or like, oh, here's something cool, or even play a game together. My gosh, you know what I mean? Like open up your virtual whiteboard and play Pictionary or Hangman or something like that. Like take the time to have a little bit of fun. Because again, we're by transitioning to this remote world, not only now, but again, in general, we're going to get lonely, right? We're going to be craving that human interaction and stuff that we just get in the natural office environment that's missing here. And so, really consciously take the time to talk to one another as people, as friends, as colleagues, be open about sharing your own personal challenges and just be honest with your team about how you're feeling and what you're struggling with, and help one another out. And then again, have some fun, play some games, tell some jokes, just try to keep things as lighthearted as possible because, it's a heavy time. And we are going to get through it. I mean, I have no doubt that this thing will pass. We're starting to see it pass in other countries, and we're obviously just diving into it and bracing for impact. And it's definitely going to be a storm, but let's sort of lock arms, hold hands, and get through it together. And we'll be fine. All right. So much love to all of you. I care and I support every single one of you, and I know we're all going to come out the other side stronger and more connected. And let's take that path, right? Let's not get disconnected. Let's not get selfish. Let's not get inverted and brood and lonely and so on. Let's take this opportunity to really connect with one another in this time of need. And again, create a strong foundation for teams going forward after this storm is passed. All right. Good luck. Stay safe. Have a great day.